Please explain what it is that you do with hypercare, because it's essential in this world of technology where things are just going so fast. You do something that I think is very key, needed, and the human touch is going to secure a long revenue cycle, lifetime value. What is it? What is hypercare?
Yeah, it's something I didn't create. I learned it actually at my last company, the one that I merged with. And what we would do is we did deployed a lot of phone systems and communication systems globally for really big companies. So when you're porting over 10,000 or 20,000 phone system users in one night, you're going to have some issues. So what we would do is we would have this basically a war room that we would call the hypercare room. And for the first week or whatever was needed for that particular site, they would have like 24/7 first call resolution where they could call and say, this isn't working. And the engineers and everybody was in one room together and they would fix the problem like on the call. When we were deploying these AI agents, obviously it's like releasing a new employee to handle a lot of work at one time. And you can't always think of all the things you need to train them on. So what we do with our customers, with our AI agents, is the first 2 weeks an agent goes live, they're in what we call a hypercare period. And we use Microsoft Teams. So we have all of our customers in hypercare on their own Microsoft Teams channel. And then we actually use interns. We have interns that are auditing pretty much every call that comes in for that customer. And then in real time, they have access to engineers or onboarding team, whatever the case may be, what the escalation is, and they will fix it. So instead of waiting 24 or 48 hours for resolution, we're resolving it hopefully less than an hour.
Everyone, welcome back to Fearless Founders. We are so happy to see you again. And today I've got a mutual friend of both Ike and ours, David Ellis. David has been a friend for a while. He has a fantastic new business. After having sold a prior business, he's back in the fight again. He's in the arena. And David was a full-time minister for his church before starting his business. And David, you can tell the whole story behind it. Sold it, and now he's got a fast-growing AI tech business that we're going to venture into. But we're also going to learn a lot about the lessons learned. So, David, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
And thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, you're great. Tell the listeners and our viewers that quick transition. You were a full-time minister. You said the pay wasn't good enough. And then now you became a capitalist. So you said you became a capitalist and you started a business. So give us a quick story on that.
Yeah, I actually grew up in a pastor's family. It was 6 generations or 5 generations, something like that, of vocational pastors and missionaries. And so I guess I went into the family business and became a full-time pastor myself and preached and did music and all that stuff. And I got to my mid-20s and decided that I wanted to try starting something from scratch. And started an audio video company that originally actually I took my knowledge of churches and how they worked, and our core target market was churches. And so we would put sound systems and video broadcast systems and lighting systems into fairly large church auditoriums across the United States. It was a fun journey. I really enjoyed it.
We're not talking small, folks. We're talking massive, those mega church equivalents. And they spend a lot of money to get the right equipment in. We put multiple bands on there with sound engineers, the lights, the effects, the videos. It was a great business.
It was ultimately, a lot of
fun. You sold it. So along that journey, was it hard to grow that business? Was it tough? What did you learn from that?
It was tough. I think, you start off with a customer target, I think, of people that you know and in an industry that you know. And then it's easy, I think, as a business owner to start getting pulled in multiple different directions. And I think that was one of the things that I learned the most through building that is there's always a pull to go horizontal fast because there's opportunity. And I think the thing that I learned the most is I often question if I had stayed, like with our original church company, if I had stayed in churches, would I have grown faster or slower? Because eventually we went beyond churches and we started doing commercial work. And eventually we were one of the main providers for all of the Microsoft retail stores globally and did all their video walls and sound systems in their retail stores. But I often wonder, like, if I could go do it over again, what would have happened if I stayed really vertical specific? And, I think this is an issue for a lot of founders, is how soon do you leave your core vertical and start to go more horizontal? And I think there's a tension there. And if you do it too early, it really hurts you. And I don't know that I did that, but I often go back and, question that. Like, what would happen if I just stayed with churches? Would we have grown faster? Would we have been better at what we did? There's always that question in the back of my head.
Ike, isn't that a beautiful comment, right? That strategy is, and I've always shared this, and David was there too, strategy is about what not to do, right? Mm-hmm. Strategy is really about what not to do, because you are pulled. It is, everyone says, oh, you've got the coolest widget. You should do this and this. And mm-hmm. Oh, there's somebody who wants to invest in. As soon as you hear the word invest, and you look, right? What? There's money there. So it's a sexy siren that can be very dangerous. And for what, I don't know the timing, but it sounds like you did well because you grew that business and you sold it. And so congrats. But it's a topic. Ike, anything about strategy and focus?
I'm curious about the selling process, actually, like the exit. How did that work out and how did you feel about it? Because, when you first exit, I think there's like a big weight comes off your shoulders. But also, I've heard so many founders say they were depressed losing their kid. Like, how was that process?
Yeah, so ours was interesting. We sold to a strategic, and it was a bit of an aqua merger sale. So I sold for cash, but I also sold for stock in the company that took us on. They actually brought me on the team. They were a company that needed to reimagine what they were doing and what their product was. And so I came on kind of as a fresh set of eyes, a fresh vision to help reshape. But I will say there was a huge grieving process. There was a weight off, and that I wasn't everything didn't fall on my shoulders anymore. When payroll came around, it wasn't just my responsibility, but there was a ton of grieving. With part of it, I think, was the loss of control, but there was also just the vision shifted, and what you imagined you were going to build changed. And it's really hard to see somebody else or a group of other decision makers take that and start to reshape it. Even in my case, where I still had input, it was still very painful. And I remember going home many nights. I don't want to admit it, but I probably cried many nights because it was a painful process. It was something that I had put my heart and soul into, and to see it taken and reshaped and retooled was definitely tough. And I don't think anybody can be prepared for, if you liked your business at any level, I don't think anybody can be prepared for the grief that you do take on. Cool. That the money doesn't always cover,
Yeah, I that's great. I think this leads to the strategy question that you mentioned. Like, did you plan to sell the previous company along the way, like when you were building it? And how does that change now with your second company? Do you think about the exit differently compared to the first one?
Yeah, totally think about it differently. When I started my first company, I had no clue what I was doing. I'm a quick study. I learn things fast, but I had never run a business. I had dabbled in starting a few other little things here and there, but nothing like this. But I picked an industry where I was really good at solving my customers' problems. And because of that, we just blew up rapidly. But I learned a lot along the way. But there was no concept of an exit ever. That would never even didn't cross my mind until we grew to the point where people started to pay attention to us. But it was never something I planned for. It wasn't something I was ready for. Our books weren't clean like they need to be for an acquisition. There was a lot of things that I didn't do right because I was never planning for it. Right. I was just building my business and having a great time and doing what I did. But now the second time around, it's one of the first questions I answered for myself is, hey, what does this look like? What's the end game here? Partly because I'm a little older. I started my first business when I was, 26. And so you're not really thinking about end games at that point. But now at 46, I'm definitely thinking about what end games look like and what the outcomes are going to be.
Fantastic. That also brings up a comment. I was just interacting with a current client who's selling a business on the side, not the main business, a secondary business. And both of you know this. Man, the mental anguish he went through just to make the decision to go sell it.
Yeah.
I said, dude, hurry up. How many times we're going to discuss this? But, and butt brain going all over the place. And he said, okay, I'm going to sell it. Because we were talking about putting all of his arrows behind that one main company that's growing super fast. And he's got this distraction, but he wouldn't even let go emotionally because he says, my baby. If I do that, then I'm a failure. And then so all sorts of stuff. So it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that people need to anticipate and plan for ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
I had two companies that I had to actually shut down. So that was demoralizing in many ways. So yes, I'm with you. Hey, jump forward. So there you are. Now you've started a brand new business. I have to bring this up. Tell them a little bit about the business. Tell everyone about the business, David. But particularly, I forgot about how hard this part was. as it reminds you, crap, I got to go through this again, right? So, share what you got now, and then what did you relearn again?
Yeah. So now we build virtual agents using AI. Go figure. That answer the phone, make phone calls, mainly for law firms. So doing receptionist duties, doing intake for new cases, doing outbound calling to current customers to check on their medical situations every month and to help with the customer journey and the case management. So it's really exciting. It's very cutting edge. That was one of the things I wanted to do with this next business. I was in tech before, but I wanted to be like on the bleeding edge of technology. So I tried to take something that I knew, which was communications technology, and then pair it with something like AI to build something that had never been built or barely been built, which kind of we're in that season with AI right now. Man, startups are, we're 3 years in now, so we're still a startup. But I was joking with somebody the other night, we're an overnight success, 3 years in the making at this point. But I think the ups and downs are the thing they forgot about. In the first few years of a business, like the highs and the lows, like from hour to hour, sometimes minute to minute, are just so drastic. They level out, I think, as the business gets more mature and gets older. But man, in the beginning, you got to have some mental fortitude to weather those highs and lows, because they make you feel almost insane sometimes, because they're like, how could this be? How could I have gone from here to here so fast? But it's also what keeps it exciting. And I think that, the sign of maturity is hopefully leveling those out so that the highs aren't so high, the lows aren't so low. But that is the thing. And I don't know if I feel it more because of my age now and because I have a family to take care of. But something entrepreneurs have to know, that it's a thing. This it's a roller coaster. And I forgot how much of a roller coaster. Yeah. But it's fun.
It's not due to family or age or anything. It's just I can tell you, it's the name of the game. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I think the other interesting thing for me this time around is, before I was, my last company, we were integrators, right? We were taking somebody else's product, adding professional service, value adding, reselling, but it was somebody else's product. With what I'm doing now, it's our product. We're building it. So it's almost more personal, because when something doesn't work or a customer doesn't like it, we birthed it, we created it, we made it. So it hits different, because I can't blame it on the manufacturer. I can't blame the shipping. It is shipping. It's stuck in shipping. Like if the product doesn't ship, it's our fault because we didn't develop it. There's nobody to blame. And so that changes the dynamics too. And I think I'm enjoying that. But it definitely makes for a more intense dynamic, I think. You really have to put your ego out of the way, and you have to not be afraid to try and fail, because, as Ike knows better than me, software development, that's what it's about. It's about trying, failing, pushing out products sometimes before they're ready to get market feedback. And you just have to have a thicker skin in this, what I'm doing now, than I did in my past life.
Fantastic.
Agreed. And David, tell us a little bit more about, you said living on the edge, the cutting edge technology. I bet you didn't expect AI to change on a weekly basis.
No, I didn't. And it's, it's a really interesting game with AI right now, because some of the tech is really good and some of the tech is just not there yet, right? But you've got to put it into production to mature it and train it and get the data. So it's this real balancing act of, not waiting too long to release new things, but also not releasing them prematurely. And I think you actually have to err on the side of releasing prematurely, because and people are somewhat willing to take the risk because it's AI. But it is really interesting that we had our voice product, for instance. We had it for 2 years, and I had people going, "Oh, it's really good, it's really good," and then I just knew it wasn't good enough. So it's like the waiting game of knowing, okay, now it's good enough where it's actually going to be useful in the market beyond just a cool demo. And that's what we're fighting in the AI game. And yes, you're keeping up all the time. And I think the biggest thing, Ike, is the demo thing. Like we got a lot of competitors who their demos are like, you listen to their demo, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And we have to tell our customers, we're like, yeah, but go put their demo into production and see what happens. It doesn't work, right? It can't handle all the variables of the real world. So in AI, yeah, it's moving really fast, but you also have to be careful that you don't get caught up in the hype cycle.
Yeah, Ike, you realize that you have a perspective that he doesn't, because you grew up with the classic coding world of lots of engineers. And David goes, I came from AV world, and
Yeah.
AI engineer to output ratio is all I know, right? Different, right?
But the AI is impacting everywhere. Like the things you knew about engineering 5 years ago, 2 years ago, even a year ago are obsolete. I think the age right now is, are you a learner? Are you are you the person that can actually spend some quality time learning every day to what AI brings to the operations, to the product development, product marketing, sales, and then can you apply those to make a difference? Because everything is out the window. If you do it the old way, you're just going to be mediocre and expensive operation.
Yeah. No, we when we released our legal product, we needed to figure out how to do integrations with the legal softwares we were integrating with. And I took one weekend. I'm not an engineer. I have no clue how to code anything. And I spent a weekend learning how to, with me and Claude, figure out how to write JSON and figured out how to do the API connections. But you can do it if you have the curiosity, I think, Ike, is what you're saying. Like, you can do it in a weekend. Like, literally at lunch today, I was at lunch with my CTO, and he loaded Claude code onto my computer and terminal. And he goes, okay, we need our website updated. I'm going to show you. Here you go do it. And he just gives me Claude code, and I'm off to there. It really is pretty wild what you can do if you you still obviously need your engineers to clean it up when you mess it up, but you can do a lot of iterating and ideating on your own now that you couldn't do before.
Super.
And I messed it up, by the way. The first thing I tried to do with Claude code, I broke our website. So you do need the code. You need the engineers to fix it.
Hey, it's part of the learning.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, would you share with our viewers and listeners how your business is going on right now? How things are progressing? Because I have learned a few things about you, the way you started this business so maturely, and I want to go there, but give them a context a little bit, because I have some points I want to bring out. So you started this business 3 years ago, and then
3 years ago. Yeah, well, 3 years ago, we created the product, and then we just went out and tried to find industries that could use the tech, that were kind of low risk enough to take the jump into the AI communications. And so we've done that. We've bounced around to different industries, basically collecting data sets for the AI with consumer conversations. And then 8 months ago, our voice AI hit a kind of an inflection point where I was like, okay, this is ready for prime time. And we had a few target industries that we wanted to go into. And one of them was the legal industry. And with serving lawyers, and we had some really great distribution channels, the tech, it all aligned at the right time. And so 8 months ago, we, as you know, Binoy, you helped walk me through it. We pivoted the company, basically exited a bunch of the verticals where we were in, licensed some of that tech out to competitors, and then went hard after especially the personal injury, single event, mass tort spaces in legal. And so in the last 8 months, we've been just selling like crazy and creating the product. And as of today, I think we're answering the phone for just over 200 law firms, and doing everything from saying hello and transferring people all the way through to answering calls, qualifying cases, sending out the representation agreements on the call, getting them signed, scheduling next steps. I mean, the agents really are doing a lot autonomously. So in 8 months, it's been quite a journey from starting a new vertical. And we had some tech, but obviously it was almost like relaunching the company and getting a really great market impact in that amount of time. So
can you double click on that pivot? Like how I'm guessing you had to commit and make a lot of changes. Probably the team was uneasy. They wanted to divide the attention. Go to market to engineering. Like tell us a little bit more about that. Like how you were able to make decisions and also communicate that to the team.
Yeah, I think the main thing for us, my CTO, who's just a very wise, not only is he an amazing tech guy, but he's also a very wise business person. He had been saying, we've got to find a place where our customers love us so much or need us so much that when we go down, they know before we did. Like when a feature turns off or when we have an error, they call us because they know before we did, because that's how much they use it. And we hadn't found that yet. Like we had customers, they were using it, but they weren't it wasn't critical to their business yet. And we saw in legal, we saw all of these law firms who were literally begging for what we were bringing to market. And so we knew it was the right pivot. But it also came with some really tough decisions, less from a tech perspective, because we had built our tech where we could really pivot and be a call center for basically any industry. You have some tweaking to do, but it was pretty minimal. I think the sales motion was the hardest part. We actually had to get rid of salespeople because they knew how to sell into one vertical and they really weren't capable of selling into this other vertical. So we made hard decisions, and I mean, we really ripped off the Band-Aid. We let go of people. We fired customers because we wanted to focus. We knew we had found our niche. And so we didn't, I don't know if we didn't do it gracefully is the right way of saying it, but we didn't do it delicately. I mean, we flipped the light switch. I'm using a lot of random analogies, but we flipped the light switch and said, we are now this, and the old is gone and the new is here. Right. That's not going to be right for everybody, but the market conditions, it was the right time to do it.
Yeah, Bino, you probably had stories and clients that couldn't do that as decisively, right?
No. I have too many war stories, which is part of the reason I even brought that up at the start of the podcast, right? The art of saying no is what strategy really is all about. And it's not a science always. It's sometimes an art. And to be able to say deliberately to the entire team and the resources, we're going to say no to paying customers in order to change to a bigger vein of gold that we believe is there. We're seeing some bits of it, but we believe it's there. And to be able to communicate that and get everyone to go willingly takes a lot of talent and effort and relationship building of trust that they'll follow you. Yeah. Many do not do it well, David, which is why Ike's bringing that up.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we were blessed with, we have a small, really high performing, and I would say tight knit team. And there's a lot of trust that we've built over the last several years going through the ups and downs of the startup. So as the leader, I was blessed with a team who really trusted me, and they got on board really. I mean, they at some points were pushing me to go harder. They're like, "No, we need to fire that customer. They're not using the platform. They're not getting value out of it. They're not a great customer. We're wasting time on them. They're wasting money on us." So I had my team so far behind it. They were pushing me in a lot of circumstances on this pivot. And so there was very little resistance, again, except from some of the salespeople who weren't going to be able to make the change. They wanted to still hold on to the old products, but we knew we didn't have the money, the time, or the energy to split our focus. We had to pick a singular focus to really seize the opportunity that was before us.
So with that said, David, I'd love to get into some of the areas that I've seen you excel in for your wisdom and experiences showing. So number one, you start a brand new business, you put money into it from your prior sale, from your success. It's never enough. And so as most tech founders know, you're always investing before you get your money back. And there you have all of these people willing to forego market rates of compensation, defer it, whatever. You did an extraordinary job. What pointers can you share about how to have people willingly jump in and row with you knowing that in the future they'll get paid or that they'll get paid market rates. What did you do to be able to get people to willingly row with you in this new boat?
The most important thing I did was found a co-founder, CTO who got it and was just a ride or die. You know, he's, again, like I keep saying, he's a brilliant technical co-founder, but he's also got a really solid business mind. And so there's not a lot of convincing him on the business side. He just gets it. And so I think the two of us being in lockstep really helps, because I'm never checking, you know, behind me to make sure, beside me to make sure that he's on board. Like, we have a great relationship and I trust him implicitly. And that, I can't overestimate how valuable that has been to our success, and just the partnership that we have. But, you know, I think I do a pretty good job of painting the picture and the vision for what the future is going to look like if we succeed, and also giving gravity to the opportunity that we have. Like, I think you have to do that in business. You have to realize how big the opportunity is, and you have to sell that gravity. You also have to be careful, because you can oversell it too, right? Like, you can oversell the opportunity, and I have done that in the past. But with AI and the way it's going right now, it's hard to oversell the opportunity. It really is. I mean, this is really a once in a lifetime type opportunity. And so I didn't even have to sell it that much. People just get it, you know, because everybody's talking about it. It's all you hear about on the news. I was at an investment event this week here in Arizona, and one of the VCs said, if you don't have AI first as part of your thesis, you can't get an investment anymore. And most of the VCs are telling the companies that don't have AI as part of their company to either get AI as part of their company now or sell it next year, because they'll be obsolete. So, like, you know, that helped us too. I mean, just the market the way it is, it's people get it. They want to be part of it because they're feeling the weightiness of the opportunity. But I honestly think it's the partnership between me and Akil, my CTO, that has made this what it is.
I think you're right. I also think you are underplaying some great leadership traits that you have and behaviors and skills you've acquired over the years of running a business. Go back to the AV business. How many employees did you have at its max size, approximately?
When we were like really busy, we were probably 40 to 50.
See, so you already knew how to communicate to multiple layers of different levels of people. So you acquired enough skill sets. You do something with people that makes them loyal to you. You allow them to feel safe. You allow them to extend and try and fail. I think you have something that's not common for first-time starters. And I think you acquired those skills in your prior business, because the way you communicate to people, you tell them what's going on, like you said, the gravity of the situation, positive and negative. I think you've acquired some very much needed skills to help now your new business succeed way better at this stage than a first-time founder would go through. I'm just sharing that with you. I see it.
I appreciate that. That's why I have you here, is I get to be humble and you can build me up. No, I think one of my core values personally is the word metamorphosis. And I may use it wrong, but it makes sense to me. And the word metamorphosis means something that is changing to become the best version of itself that it can be. And I really try to lead that way, where I help everybody, no matter what position they are, you know, become the best version of themselves in their position. And I think that resonates with people, because people want to feel like they're making an impact. And so I try to coach and lead that way, where everybody knows what they're contributing and feels like they're part of it. And so, yeah, I think I appreciate the compliment, Binoy, and I have worked really hard to be a good leader of people. So that does play into it.
Can we go into tactical a little bit on this one, just so that our audience get it? Like, we talked about like gravity of the situation and the how big the opportunity is, right? So not everybody can take that. I think that the people you hire probably impacts. And then not everybody wants to hear the gravity of the situation all the time. They just want to be the positive one. What are the tools and tips and tricks to utilize, communicate with the right amount to the right people, hire the right people, or what to pay attention? Do you know what I'm like? Just so we give some tips and tricks to the audience.
But I think it's an emotional intelligence thing that you have to help teach. Like I have a 4-year-old daughter at home, and man, talk about emotions and highs and lows. And one of the things I'm trying to teach her right now is to have appropriate responses to different situations, right? Like just because you have to go to bed doesn't mean you should fall on the ground and kick and scream. But maybe if you cut yourself, that's an appropriate response, right? And so I think there's the same way with like any sort of thing in life. Like if everything is like the World Series and you're celebrating every little victory like it's the biggest victory in the world, when you actually do have the really, really big victory, you have no margin, like you have no, what we would call in the audio world, you have no headroom. You're already maxed out, right? The same thing, like it's funny, my CTO Akil, one of his favorite things to say is just went nuclear, and I'm like, Akil, did it really? Because that's like the worst, right? Like if it's really, I mean, there's nowhere lower than that, right? And he goes, well, it's probably not that bad. I feel like that's one of the things I try to teach the team is like, let's give the right weight to the right thing. And then I guess it goes back to my dad ultimately, who he always taught me growing up. He would always say, hey, whenever you're going to react or respond to something, always think about, ask yourself, what's this going to matter in 5 minutes? What's this going to matter in 5 days? What's this going to matter in 5 years? And that'll help you figure out what the right response is. For me, AI and the opportunity we have here is going to matter in 50 years. It's going to matter probably in 500 years. So it's probably a big deal. And we can have some weightiness to it, right? Opening a new coffee shop, even though that's really great, so they're just different levels of world impact, right? So
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
And I love my
Hey.
coffee shop, so I'm not dogging on coffee shops. I'm just
I love that. 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years. David, one of the things I also noticed that the business acumen from the prior business helped you here was, of all the many things you do, I don't know everything, is the fact that you have this concept of hypercare when you onboard a client. I just remember the terminology. Please explain what it is that you do with hypercare, because it's essential in this world of technology where things are just going so fast. You do something that I think is very key, needed, and the human touch is going to secure a long revenue cycle, lifetime value. What is it? What is hypercare?
Yeah, it's something I didn't create. I learned it actually at my last company, the one that I merged with, and what we would do is we deployed a lot of phone systems and communication systems globally for really big companies. So when you're porting over 10,000 or 20,000 phone system users in one night, you're going to have some issues. So what we would do is we would have this basically a war room that we would call the hypercare room. And for the first week or whatever was needed for that particular site, they would have like 24/7 first call resolution where they could call and say, this isn't working. And the engineers and everybody was in one room together and they would fix the problem like on the call. When we were deploying these AI agents, obviously it's like releasing a new employee to handle a lot of work at one time. And you can't always think of all the things you need to train them on. So what we do with our customers, with our AI agents, is the first 2 weeks an agent goes live, they're in what we call a hypercare period. And we use Microsoft Teams. So we have all of our customers in hypercare on their own Microsoft Teams channel. And then we actually use interns. We have interns that are auditing pretty much every call that comes in for that customer. And then in real time, they have access to engineers or onboarding team, whatever the case may be, what the escalation is, and they will fix it. So instead of waiting 24 or 48 hours for resolution, we're resolving in hopefully less than an hour. And it's really helped smooth out the onboarding, make our customers feel really heard. It also helps us learn a lot because we're auditing and listening to a lot of our phone calls that the AI is doing. It's helping us fix it and train it and work really well. But that hypercare, I think, is really great. It also helps make us sticky with the customer because you're talking to them a lot. It helps you develop a relationship with them. So you're not just turning them on and like going, here's your software, go use it now. It starts to develop a dialogue, which we think is really helpful because we obviously want to land and then expand these customers. And if you can get that first 2 weeks going the right way, it feels like the rest of the relationship goes well.
This is something that many, many founders neglect. They had this show up, throw up, and on we go because we got more revenue to go and get. The whole world of subscription-based pricing means that not only do they have to have value, but that ultimately the relationship that gets neglected because of the volume of transactions, the new sales, and onboarding, and somebody else take care of it. We got to go. and the focus of the CEO to acquire more and more and more versus retaining, which ultimately becomes a big issue because they didn't onboard properly. They didn't establish a relationship. They didn't take care of all of the needs. And then they wonder why they have such a high churn rate or whether or not their reviews are where they should be. I'm bringing that up for everyone who's listening and hearing that what David's doing is one of the many different ways that you can have a higher retention rate, higher profitability, where it costs so much more to acquire a new one than to retain. And that's something that Ike and I have talked about ad nauseum from prior businesses.
Yeah, we take it really seriously too. We actually throttle our onboarding, not by how many agents we can build, but how many people we can have in hypercare at one time and actually take care of them. That's kind of our throttle on how many customers we can onboard at one time, because we want to make sure every customer in hypercare is getting a really good experience. And so we'll make sure that every customer's onboarding person can only have so many customers in hypercare at one time. And we'll extend hypercare. Some really complex customers or really big customers, we might give them 3 or 4 weeks of hypercare if they need it. We're monitoring that all the time. And we'll go, hey, Mr. Customer, you're not ready to exit hypercare yet. We're going to leave you in for another week or 2 to make sure we really get this dialed for you.
See, that is so mature. That's something that you don't see. I do not see that in new founders starting up. The wisdom of prior business execution is showing their thumbs up on that one. Yeah. Ike, any questions on this before I have another topic?
Let's go. I have another topic as well, but I'll give you the microphone first.
You go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, David. One of the things that I've seen that you've exhibited, which is why I was saying, it'd be good to have David on the show. You have also an ability to sell like none other. Now, there is something that CEOs already have an advantage, right? They're the ones that have the vision. They can see it. They are the decision maker where the buck stops. And everyone knows, well, hopefully everyone knows on the podcast listeners that ultimately the best salesman happens to be the founder, the CEO. It almost always is. And Ike, you'll nod in agreement with that as well.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah. And there is no one better to close a deal. So with that said, you've got so many customers lined up in your pipeline. You're making sure that your team is working through them. Your small team is working through them, but you're still involved in helping to close them. At one point, you let the team take care of it, and you realize your close rates dropped. It wasn't as good as when you were on there. What have you learned about your role in helping to close sales as a founder and CEO, and what nuances? Because I believe that at some point or another, everyone who's starting a business has to sell. They have to learn how to sell.
Yeah, I think that your salespeople have to be at the same level or just a little bit above of whoever they're selling to. So if you're selling to executives of a company, your salespeople have to be executives of a company. They have to be of that same caliber, or they're just not going to do a good job. So we're selling to attorneys right now. They're great men and women, but they're also attorneys. And so they probably have, slightly, they have egos, which they just do. They would admit that. And so until I can afford to hire a team of people who can match their level of, I don't know, the gravitas or whatever the word is, then I have to do it. And I do have another person on the team who can do it, but I use the people that I can afford to do the parts that I don't need to do, the follow-up, the emails, the coaching them through like that type of stuff. I get on the call, I do the meeting, I help solve the problem, and then they don't hear from me again. They hear from somebody else. And I think that's the important thing for founders is you need to be on the important calls, and then you need to find somebody else who you can offload the more menial tasks to. And not that they're not, when I say menial, I don't mean unimportant. I just mean maybe repetitive or mundane tasks. And so that's what we've done, and it's worked really well. Again, I do have a really great VP of sales who handles a lot of it for me too. But yeah, at this point I do. I have the product in my soul at this point. So I sell it with more. Nobody can sell it with as much conviction as me right now. It's just not possible. And I think that you have to figure out a way as the founder to replicate that level of conviction in your salespeople. But it also is just a level of communication ability, a technical ability, and you have to be able to speak to the level of person you're trying to sell to. And the more the higher your product goes in the organization, the better your salespeople have to be. I really do
Yeah.
believe that.
I think there's a big lesson here for the founders, because transitioning from founder-led sales to sales team is hard, and many do it without contemplating on this enough. So I think your thought process is, I've never heard that one before, but it makes perfect sense. Like you're looking for the match in capabilities or calibers with the buyers and the users, so that you need to find the right sales reps to be able to match that, and then you're gonna let go, and or I should say scale what you can do. Right? Is that how you're thinking about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I was selling audio video stuff to churches, I was great at that because I was a pastor. My dad was a pastor. I was an equal with them. I understood their world. One of my best onboarding people on our team here, his dad was an attorney. And he was a personal injury attorney, so he understands the world. So when he's helping them onboard, he can speak lawyer, he can speak law firm, right? And so I think there's that, that camaraderie that happens when that's that way. And I think that when you're starting out in a startup, like you kind of just hire whatever you can afford. And I actually think in some ways you're better off to wait and just handle it. You're, hire to support you, but you still do that. That the founder needs to keep doing that until you can afford to replace yourself, and until then support yourself.
We're going to have an entire podcast, Ike, on that whole transition from founder to the leader of the new revenue engine. I think that's a great topic to do. But back to what David said, almost everyone thinks that just the title will do. Yes, the title can help, founder, CEO. And there's a level, but I think that's maybe 10, 15% of the impact. Much of it is what David said, is the aura, as the young people say, the aura that you represent in your maturity, gray hairs or not, but to be able to say and command a level of respect, because you not only know the product, but you know as a business owner what they're facing. And that allows you to be able to say with some level of boldness. I remember, I got to tell you this quick story. One of the businesses that I sold, I had a team of salespeople, but I was still outselling all of them on the few calls that I was on. One day there was a call with a group of executives and an owner remote. Back then it was just a telephone conference call, and they were listening onto the polycoms. You remember the polycoms with the starfish shape? And they were discussing the proposal that I had laid out. At the end, the CEO said, "So, gents, should we do this or not? Should we go ahead with this proposal?" And it was quiet, and I was saying, "Oh, crap. There's nobody there to champion my proposal, right?" Crap. At the same time, it wasn't like it was going to break my business. So long pregnant pause. Then I said straight out, and let's say the CEO owner, his name is Charlie. Let's say it's Charlie. I said, "Charlie, it's Binoy. Can I speak?" He said, "Sure." He said, "You asked for my proposal based on these problems. My solution addresses those three problems in this manner. I shared with you the pricing and how you can get started. I'd say it's about time that you get going with our proposal. Let's go." Right? And this guy, I could hear it. He slams the table hard, bang, and you can hear it in the microphone. He goes, "About time somebody had some balls to speak up." "Okay, Dino, you go." Right? You just bang, right? Everybody else was like, I don't know, worried about putting the neck out, right? And you just go, "Oh, I know this is what you wanted. This solves the problem. Get going, move." That's the role that the owner has, the CEO type has in the role. And we're going to talk about how to transition that another time. We don't have enough time. Ike, you had a question for David.
Yes, one more. So, David, you talked about how the investors, when you met recently, said, AI has to be first, and you have to make sure your business is AI native. And you're also in the trenches for 3 years now. You've seen how AI is going fast changing, improving constantly. To our audience, what do you recommend about the thought process of roadmap in this fast advancing AI world where the customer expectations are also wild? Like some customers saw the ChatGPT 6 months ago when it hallucinated once or when it put some dashes that they didn't recognize, but that was like
Mhm.
ages ago in technical terms, like it was
Mhm.
gone. But some are using really advanced tools that they are not easily satisfied. So, like, how do
Mhm.
you think about for your own company what the roadmap is and how you're going to match that to the expectations of the prospects, which can vary widely?
Yeah, I think it's for us since we're our product actually isn't a co-pilot. I mean, we're in a lot of ways human replacement, right? We displace humans. People that are buying AI and testing AI right now, they want something that's impossible. They want something that is very human feeling and human like, and they want it to never make a mistake. And those two things are like the opposite of each other. The more human you make it, the more mistake prone it is. It's the way it goes, right? Um, but you find that people evaluating AI, they want it to be perfect. And so I'm constantly reminding people your humans aren't perfect either. And in fact, probably your humans are less perfect than the AI is, but you're paying less attention to your humans than you are to your AI. And so right now, what I find us doing is being a like helping them moderate their temper their expectations, but also realize their expectations are actually being met a lot more than they think they are. They're just being far more critical. Like we had a customer the other day who was like, we're just seeing so many more dropped calls with the AI than we did before. Well, we went and did the data analysis for them, and we're actually getting less dropped calls. They're just paying attention to the dropped calls more because they're evaluating because they're nervous about the AI. So I think that's the world we live in right now. People are still nervous. They're very uncertain, and so every little mistake is the end of the world. Like, oh my goodness, it made this one mistake, but let's go look at how many mistakes the humans made and let's compare which one's better. And so I think Ike is people who are in this industry and promoting these tools and building these tools. We have to help customers realize, first of all, what they're buying, secondly, what they're asking for, but thirdly, to evaluate it fairly. And that's what I think a lot of is happening right now is customers just starting evaluating it fairly because they have these unrealistic expectations of what it should do for them.
Fantastic response. I love that one about they want them human and they want them perfect. Nah, choose one. So, nah, it's not going to happen. Love it. David, we've run into the end. You have so many customers. You're growing fast. Very soon, you're probably going to go for a round of funding. Is that clear? Because you are growing too fast. There's no way you can keep up with this. It's a beautiful problem to have.
It is. Yeah, no, I've been very conservative so far. I believe in building businesses profitable and not, I'm not really into the burning ridiculous cash and never being profitable. But the space is also moving very fast, and you have to keep ahead of the technology curve. So yeah, we're getting ready to go out. We're probably going to do a small strategic round, some safes here really soon, and then that will bridge us through to probably a fairly significant Series A close to the end of this year. So we're trying to be really responsible and build a sustainable company, not just about a really great headline company. But yeah, raising money is something we have to do just to stay ahead of the curve. We have great tech right now, but you got to keep your tech up.
Congratulations, bud. Congratulations on how you pivoted, how you did all the hard things and the highs and lows that you're going through. It never goes away. It does diminish over time. You're still in the thick of it. And we much needed the advice today from a seasoned vet going in for the second time, like Ike. So congratulations. So
thanks, David.
Right.
Thank you. Good to have
So
you.
thank you so much. And with that, we'll end. So everyone listening in, please share this with others in your network who are looking for advice, who want to be fearless in the startup. We appreciate David here. Ike and I signing out. Until next time, thanks everybody. Take care. Thanks again.